Mo, that's pretty cool. I guess I should make cookies more often. All right. So today we're going to talk about muscle names and what they mean. So some muscle names, you can tell how they look or the direction that they are in based on the prefix. So rectus, for example, means straight muscles. So you have rectus abdominis, muscles in your abdomen that are straight up and down, because the fibers are parallel straight up and down. Oblique, those are slanted, and you have obliques also in your abdominal region. So muscles are in sheets or layers, and you have several layers of muscles. You can see this is your top layer of muscles is the obliques. Pectoralis major also is your top layer of muscles, but below those, that first layer, you have other muscle layers, several layers. You can see that one that's below that would be the rectus abdominis muscles. They're up and down. Others are named off the relative size. So longus means it's a long muscle. Adductor longus, you can see that it's the muscle that goes across your thigh. Maximus means the largest. Gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in your body. And it's based off, well, also there's three parts to that. I think in the next slide that shows, so you have medius and minimus. And so it's compared to the other muscles around that region. So maximus is compared to the other three gluteal muscles, but it's also the largest muscle in the body too. So you might have some muscles that are have minimus in the name, not just the gluteus minimus, but other muscles that are minimus, meaning the smallest of the group of muscles. You might also see the names based on location. And so temporalis is the muscle around your temple region. Frontalis is along your forehead or your frontal bone. So you might have heard that the tongue is the strongest muscle in your body, and it's really not. People just think it is because you never heard that. It's pretty common. I mean, people think it is, but one reason it's based off, I forgot who said it, but the idea is that the tongue can cause a lot of damage. You can say, your words can be damaging to other people. And so the idea is that by what you say, you can hurt other people. And I think that's where the saying came from and why the tongue is like so powerful, but it's not strong for its size. It doesn't wear out though. I mean, you don't get tired from talking as far as like your tongue getting fatigued. So it doesn't fatigue like other muscles do. But for its size, it's not the strongest muscle in your body. One muscle that could be, though, would be the masseter right here. This is one of the strongest muscles in your body, which is for chewing. But for strength overall, the larger the muscle, the stronger it is. And so if you look at overall strength, it's the largest muscle that's the strongest. So we have these ones down. Other muscles are named based off how many origins they have. I mentioned this the other day with biceps and triceps. So bi means two. Two heads is what biceps means. So there's two origins to the biceps. So one wraps around the humerus right here, and then another one goes up to your shoulder bone, to the coracoid process. Oh, and the insertion point you can see right here is on the radius. And then for the triceps, there's 3 insertion points. And you can see these 2 right here. And there's one, if you cut away these 2 pieces, there's one behind it that it shows you right here. So you have this one, and this one. Quadriceps has 4 origins. You can only really see 3 on here. So you have this one, this one, this one. The 4th one is behind. It's not shown in this picture. The name of the muscle might also tell you where the origin is and where the insertion point is. So sternocleidomastoid would be a muscle that the name tells you where it attaches at both points. So sterno, your chest, your sternum. So that's one insertion point. And then cleido stands for clavicle. So it also attaches to your clavicle, your collarbone. And then mastoid, the mastoid process right here. So those 3 parts of the name tells you the 3 insertion points. It also might tell you the shape of the muscle on the name. So deltoid is a triangular shape. And delta is the Greek letter that looks like a triangle. So your shoulder muscle right here is an upside down triangle. That's why it's called the deltoid. So the insertion point of the deltoid is deltoid tuberosity along here. And then also attaches to your scapula, your shoulder bone up here. And the collarbone right there. Did you get that one down?
So I assume the biggest muscle in our body is
The gluteus maximus is the biggest one. Yeah. And that's because, you know, it helps you stand up and walk. And so that's why it has to be so big. So there's a lot of force to keep a person upright. And so it's the biggest and strongest, both for its size and just overall. But the quads are pretty big muscles too, along with the pectoralis majors are also a large muscle. But overall, the biggest one by far. Okay, so there's also names that would tell you what they do, their functions or their actions. So the extensor would be a muscle that extends apart. So extensor digitorum is a muscle that extends your fingers. So when you move your fingers outward and extend them, that muscle along your arm does that. So you did this we look at the chicken foot, I think, where, you know, we told you to, you know, wrap your hand around your arm and then move your hand in and out. And you were feeling that muscle working when you were doing that. The flexor carpi ornalis would be a muscle that flexes your arm. And so there isn't just one muscle. You know, we talk about the biceps being a muscle that flexes. It makes sure I'm going inward, but it's not the only one that does that. There are other muscles that work with the biceps to move your arm inward. And one of those would be the flexor carpi ornalis. Abductor would be a muscle that moves your limb away from the body. So you have an abductor muscle along here that would do that. Supinator, which you can see right here along the antecubial region. So like the name implies, it makes you have your arm upward like this in the supine position, where your palm is facing upward. Tensor would be a muscle that causes, you know, like the name implies, it tenses. And so one of those would be that goes along your thigh. So the muscle names all have a purpose, and they tell you something about what they do or what they look like or where they're located in the body. That's why they can be so long. And they're all Latin origins too. So if you know Latin, it will help you in this section, because if you understand what the name is telling you, it will help you understand what it looks like or where it should be located. So ones that are really long, like this one, for example, if you have long muscle fibers, you have a good range of motion. You know, it's able to contract and expand a good amount of length, but they're not very powerful muscles if they're long. The more fibers it has and the more condensed those fibers are and more bulky, the more muscular and powerful that area is. So the quadriceps would be much more powerful because they're bulkier and they're more condensed than this long muscle would be right here. Muscle fibers have several basic shapes to them or arrangements. One of them would be a circular shape, and so that can be seen around the mouth. So all I need to write down for this would just be, if you want to sketch it, you can, but you don't need to, but basically just write down, circular. That's all you want to say in here. Ubicularis oris is a muscle around your mouth. And that changes the shape of the lips and how much the mouth or the lips are opening. The next muscle fiber type is convergent. And so the pectoralis major would be an example of that, where you can see that the fibers are all going inward to one tendon. So convergent would be the fibers are moving into one place.
Wait, can you go back to the last slide?
Yeah, circular, yeah. And you don't have to write down the muscles that you find these in. You just need to know the names of these. The third one is fusiform. So it's a parallel muscle arrangement, but there is a bulge around the center of it. The biceps would be an example of fusiform. And then parallel, sartorius is an example of that one. So the fibers have a lot of length, but they don't bulge outward in the middle like fusiform does. They're more just in a straight line. So this muscle type would have a wide range of movement, but it wouldn't be very strong. Multipinnate. So pinnate means feather. Multi means more than one. So the name is saying several feathers. You see right here, there's 1, 2, 3 feathers that come off. So the deltoid is multipinnate. Some are bipinnate muscles where you can see 2 feather arrangements. The rectus femoris is an example of the bipinnate muscle. And an unipinnate, just 1 feather. That's in the tibial region. Extensor digitorum longus. So that would extend your toes. It makes your toes move outward. So write those ones down. Okay, we'll stop here for today as far as notes go. We pass out some worksheets for you to do. So there's 2 things I want you to do today. On page 205, do 18 and 19. And then there's 1 coloring worksheet to do. Page 205, do 18 and 19.
thought you said it's a couple of worksheets.
Oh, yeah, these will not be for today, this is just. So it's gonna be for- I think I mentioned in multiple times right now, probably.
Yeah.
So the worksheet I want you to do today is the very last one, actually. If you look at your packet, the very last page of the worksheet, muscle types. That's what we should do today. It's probably. Yeah, and then
18 and 19.
18 and 19.
Okay.
The very last page, muscle types. Just do the algebra right now. And then page 205 is the 19. Here's the 18.